I'm live. It says I'm live right now. What's going on, everybody? It is Saturday night. It's about 5:45, and I'm there. I am fresh off. Well, not fresh off. I'm fresh off a nap, but I'm also fresh off 4 hours of riding at Natchez Trace. And I got to tell you, I'm a little bit blitzkrieged at the moment. Um, the ride was an hour, and then 1 hour at half Ironman pace, little break, another hour at half pace, and then cool down. So it was about 70 miles, I guess. Started getting hot at the end, but I felt pretty good on those blocks, and then towards the end it just started getting hot, and I was starting to fall apart a little bit. But I mean, riding out there is no joke, and rode pretty hard. Um, so But it's also been a pretty huge block for me this month. This is probably one of my bigger blocks ever for Ironman. I've been notoriously an under trainer, and in fact, I got back to the parking area with about 15 minutes left, and 20 minutes left, and I actually went down the huge hill and came back up it again to make 350. Call it 4. And I had one thought out there was kind of interesting. I thought, how like they talk about when you lift weights or when you work out, what happens is you shred your muscles. Just you tear them a little bit, and then they come back and they rebuild. We have these little built-in pockets of recovery throughout training, and that's sort of what they're for. So we can heal and kind of go on to the next layer and just sort of build on top of what we've been doing. And then certain days like this, you tear things a little bit more, and then you need a couple more days. And again, I'm just, that's what Robbie's really good at, Coach Robbie. By the way, I'm Mike from the Crushing Iron podcast, 192 episodes on iTunes and all the other platforms. But anyway, Coach Robbie does a really good job of laying out the schedule, so you have that recovery time built in that is necessary based on what you've done, right? So there's been a lot of chatter lately about these epic weekends, 3 weeks out from Ironman, and I was kind of trying to think about them. It's like, you do these little muscle tears all along the way, and then they rebuild, and then hopefully you get stronger throughout the training, and then you have some pretty big blocks towards the end of training, which tear at things a little bit more. That's all a metaphor, of course, or in a way. But and then you have the 3 weeks of taper usually that most people have. But those are bigger tears towards the end of the training, so you have that 3 weeks to recover. But like when you race, that tear is like this. Your body is just absolutely fried, and then there's been talk of people need, depending on what kind of fitness you're in, you have people talk about, at least a month. And then, sometimes you can talk about Ironman fatigue for several months. So the idea of actually, I think doing maybe like swim the entire distance, bike the entire distance, and then get off the bike and then run for a while on one day in training is absolutely, I think to me, that's what put it in perspective is like, okay, you're doing this, man. And you're just not giving your body enough time to come back because you're going to go through it even harder in about 3 weeks. So the point is that you want to build up like these little tears in your muscles, and then you want to have time for them to recover and build on top of each other, And a lot of people that want to go out and just do crazy workouts, it's just not it doesn't make sense, because like what happens today, I rode 70 miles on Natchez Trace, right? So, but that's on top of a huge load this month. It's not like I need to go out and do 100, because the equivalent 70 is definitely in my mind the equivalent of 100 based on what load has been on my muscles over the last month or more. I mean, there's been maybe like 1 or 2 days off, but it's about recovering. So today was like I said, 4 hours, and frankly, that was about as much as I could handle, especially the way I wrote it. And for me to even think about like going out and doing another like 30 or 40 miles, and then, maybe getting off that bike and running. I've got to run tomorrow, and I'm already kind of thinking, man, I might cut that back because, I mean, it's about building confidence and everything, but you have to have confidence in what's been going on over the several months. You know, it's like, I mean, I hate to use her an example, but she wanted to do 50 Ironman in 50 days. I mean, that is an immense challenge to take on. And, after maybe 3 or 4 days of that, she figured out that she was not getting the recovery she needed. There was not the right nutrition and hydration and who knows what else. But I mean, uh, that stuff really adds up. I mean, I would imagine that Iron Cowboy guy is probably in some ways. In fact, I went to see him speak, and I asked him, I said, "Hey man, how long does that take to recover for that?" And this was, I don't know when he did it, but I feel like this was maybe like 6 months after he finished. And I don't have a quote from him or anything, but I feel like the vibe of the conversation was that he was still in, dealing with things. And this is 6 months after he did that whole deal. So the idea of going out to do these distances, and you have to keep it in perspective. I mean, that's my whole thought for the day is that, um, for me to maybe like go out tomorrow and run the equivalent of 20 miles would just be asinine. And of course, that I think any time during Ironman training, that's pushing the load on the top side anyway. I mean, I'm going to do a split run tomorrow. It's supposed to be a 45-minute morning, and then 8 hours later, I'm going to try and do 130. But at this moment, I'm thinking there might be 245s on tap tomorrow, just because of how I feel. And there's no sense in digging that hole deeper, because that recovery trench is like, and Robbie's got me set up for a couple of easy days coming out of this. But I mean, I know my body better than anybody. I know what's going on. You pay attention to the the temperatures, and this week it's been a little bit down. But today I went out and it was like nice and cool when we started. By the end, it was just the sun came out, and it was we were hot already, and it was baking pretty hard. It was. I mean, that's another example of relevancy. Is like, it wasn't 100, but it started at 80, and by the time we were done, it was in the 90s and sunny, and we were already hot from riding for 3.5 hours, or 3 hours. But so those are the kind of things I think we kind of neglect a lot of times, and it's funny how that kind of stuff pops in my head when I'm riding without music, and it's like you kind of sit there and you just think, and you start thinking about what you're doing more. And I used to talk about this all the time. I've been running a lot with music, and I actually ride at the lab with music, and it is definitely easier on a lot of levels, but I wonder what I get out of it sometimes. I once heard somebody talk about when you're exercising, you should be exercising. You shouldn't be drifting off into music, because it does give you sort of a false adrenaline or false distraction. And while I do agree with that, I mean, frankly, I like running with music now, even though but I've been thinking about that though, because today I rode the 4 hours without music. Kenny was out there, my buddy, and I have a quick story about that, because I've always been for some reason, it just irritates the shit out of me when people scream on your left when I'm running, and then it kind of gets on my nerves when people scream car back when I'm on my bike. And I know that these are safety precautions, and I get that, and I appreciate that and everything like that. But I feel like I'm riding, along the right side of the road, especially at like Natchez Trace. So anyway, the point was that I said to Kenny, I go, hey man, that car back thing, can we come up with something else? Can we how about we say, when you see a car there, you just say, happy man, happy man. And I thought that was kind of stupid. He goes, "How about Pacman?" I'm like, "I'm good with Pacman." So like the whole time, um, he's he's got one of those things now on his bike. He can look at his computer, and he's got like a sensor in the back, and it detects cars, so it beeps every time a car's in back. And so the whole ride he's going, "Pacman." He's coming back, and it just was so much better because like that's the thing, man. It's like when I'm kind of in a zone and I'm just sort of meditating on my ride, and and spinning my legs and getting real into the groove of everything. When somebody just I think it's a jarring thing when somebody screams car back, and I'm like, if that car just wanted to come over and just run me off the road, there was nothing I could really do, even if I knew it was coming. So I know that there's a time and place, but I think today it was abnormally busy at the trace, because we got a little bit later of a start. I mean, the first 15 minutes, I was like, man, there's like 30 cars. I was like, this is ridiculous, man. But I didn't start till 9, and I think maybe that has something to do with the fact that why this got to me a little bit, and it did get hot pretty quick. But anyway, so that's a thought for the day. The car back on your left. Oh man, I used to get so mad. I was running down on the Greenway, and I did have the earphones in, and that's another reason why maybe the earphones are a little bit unwise or whatever. But I was, because the Greenway has sort of a pitch to it, and if you're running and nobody's around, I kind of tend to drift towards the middle a little bit, so I'm not running on this type of deal. And I was running in the sort of in the middle, and one time, like, this guy comes pulling up on my right in his bike, and he's pulling one of those baby trailers. And instead of a baby in the back, he had a dog. And I was just kind of in my own meditation. And out of nowhere, I see this guy, and I look back, and there's a dog screaming and barking super loud, and like trying to attack me through that little baby thing. And I was like, dude, what are you doing, man? He's like, oh, we tried to get your attention. I said, just go around. There was plenty of room on the left. I mean, just go by me. Like if I'm running, and I just all of a sudden just turn left, I mean, that's on me. And I know that would probably hurt both of us, but I don't know. It's just one of my things. But anyway, so I'm going back to. I should have had more pizza last night. I think Robbie posted that as a thing in the Facebook group about making sure you're loaded up before a big ride. I think most people kind of underestimate that, and I do. And I definitely underestimated this morning with trying to go out there and blast that out with like some coffee in me. And I think I had a piece of toast or something, which is ridiculous. But I brought good nutrition for the ride, but I just don't think I had enough going in. So that's another thing I want to think about. And I also felt like I got a little bit over sugary out there. So I'm thinking more about salt tabs, and I've tried those a little bit in the past. So I think I'm going to definitely start riding with those and see if that makes a little bit of a difference, because I just felt like this sort of, I wasn't upset stomach, but it's like that sugary thing that you just feel like you're a little bit out of balance. And either through, some sea salt or some salt tabs or something like that. I was drinking a lot of Scratch, but it's so sweet, man. And EFS gels, and I was doing all that, and I don't know. I just think in general I might have been also dehydrated because I went with the coffee instead of hydrating in the morning before I went out there, which is absolutely stupid. Because you sleep all night and you're dehydrated, and then you get up and then you dehydrate yourself more. And then the first thing you do after you start hydrating on the bike is you got to start peeing all the time, because that's what coffee does. It makes you go to the bathroom like 1.5 times actually of what the liquid is. What they call it, diuretic. But anyway, this is what's going on today. It's Saturday night. Hey, Maddie. Hey, we're recording. Just gonna hang in Saturday night. What are you guys up to? All you guys. Anyway, thanks for listening to me rant. I think I might, if I start running without headphones and music on the bike, I might start ranting a little bit harder because I think I'm going to start having a lot more thoughts. But I think I'm just a little testy right now because that ride got me. You know that feeling? Sort of ate me up. I ate up a good chunk of it, but the end of it is sort of spit me out. And so now I got to get some good rest tonight for that run. And maybe I'll have a pizza tonight. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the road to Louisville. Make sure to listen to Crushing Iron podcast Mondays and Thursdays. It's on iTunes, 192 episodes, and we haven't missed a day in almost 2 years. Yeah. Wes says he just got done riding. He's eating pizza and getting ready for tomorrow's workout. Good, man. Load up. Work it out. Don't get too beat down. As I guess that's sort of the lesson I was trying to get to earlier, is that the deeper those tears, the deeper those holes we dig, the more rest and recovery and nutrition we need to get out of them. And if we can go there, but we got to really be on top of it. So anyway, I will see you. See you. Thanks for checking in. Have a great night from Nashville tonight. Oh, Nashville tonight. Get this. In town, playing concerts are Journey and Def Leppard at the basketball arena. Garth Brooks is playing at the Grand Ole Opry, and then Taylor Swift is playing at the football stadium. Do you think it's going to be a little messy around here tonight? I will be sitting here on my deck. More power to those people that want to go out to these shows tonight. I got to tell you, man, I grew up, I'm older, and I grew up an old Journey fan, like the old stuff. And now they've got, the replacement guy singer. He sounds good and everything, but the nerve of these guys to be going around and charging like $100 to go see their show. And then, drinks are like $20 and whatever. That's just, what is going on? Why do people go see that? Why did I go do? I saw him about, was it 2 years ago at the outdoor amphitheater here, and it was literally 50. It was like $65 for lawn seats to see half-assed Journey singing all the new crap that the Faithfully and stuff that doesn't even really represent who they are to me. And I think back then we had, I think the beer was like $20. I mean, come on. Really? So, and I can't even imagine what's going on at the Taylor Swift show. I will be staying away from downtown Nashville, but feel free to come on in. You still got time you could probably get here from Louisville. Catch the rest of the night. Hey, Maddie, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Stand up. There's Maddie. Say hi, Maddie. There's my girl. Okay, 50 days to Louisville. What are you doing? Get to it tomorrow, and I will see you at some point. Thanks.